So working on my 03 Superduty, we're going to be replacing the outer door skins as well as welding in new door bottoms because these are kind of just gone. But to start off, I'm going to be removing the door, and to remove the door, you got to take your door cards off. On these, I think 99, definitely 99 to 04, maybe 99 to 07 Superduties to remove the door card. Got to pull the trim here off, pull the switches out, they lift up, there's just push pins that hold them in, just lift them up, there's a bolt there, and then behind your light cover, there's a bolt in there. Take those bolts out, and the door card will lift up and off of the door. Since I'm changing out my door skins, I'm going to have to take out my mirror. So while that covers off, you remove these rubber plugs. And there is 4 bolts total in here that hold the mirror in place. And then you can pull the mirror off of the truck. And the wires for the mirror go down behind the door card. So you are going to need the door card off to change out your mirrors. So Ford Superduty side mirror removal. You're going to take, there's a trim panel right here. Take that off. You got to take your door card off. And then you got 4 bolt nuts, 1 in each of these, 1 in each of these. They are 11 millimeter. You take those 4 11 millimeters out. You unplug your mirror here behind the door card. Wire snakes up through the door. And once you get all of those off, you can pull the mirror off of the truck. So here we are. Driver's side front door is ready to come off of the truck. In order to take these off the truck, you're going to need to almost completely strip the door out. You need to get, the speaker comes out. There's 4 5.5 millimeter bolt heads that hold this speaker in place. I took the glass out of mine because I'm going to be replacing the door skin and welding on a new door bottom. So I've taken the glass out of mine and all the weather stripping off to prep it for that. You do not have to do that. However, this harness that goes into the door, you are going to need to undo all the plugs, undo all the push pins, and snake it all out this access hole over here, because there is not a plug from the door to the body. And then there's 4 bolts. 2 on the upper hinge, 2 on the lower hinge on the door side. This way, this will keep your door alignment as close as possible. Most of your adjustment is done on the body side. And then there are 2 bolts in here holding the door catch in. You have to take them off on the truck side for the door catch. Those are also 11 millimeter bolt heads. So here we go. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to take my door off of the truck. So, working on separating the door bottom from the outer door skin. Working on peeling up the lip, and you can just see all of the metal that's missing. As you come in here, gotta get this out. Now what I'm doing is, for the outer door skin, I'm leaving the outer door skin intact as much as I can. I'm just peeling it up so that I have a hard stop to align my door bottom with. By leaving the door skin peeled up at a 90, it'll give me a side-to-side stop, and then the bottom stop as to where the door has to go. This will help me line it up on the door itself so that the door will be as close to the original shape and size as possible and fit the truck with minimal adjustment. So here you can see I'm working on the rotted out bottom of this driver's front door for the truck. So I'm going to be replacing it. I've got the new sheet metal piece right there. That's got to get welded in. Before you can weld that in, I do have to cut this old one out. So after I took the doors off the truck, started by this lip here. This is what holds the door skin on the truck. So you have to take that, you have to pry it up, fold it out all the way along there, all the way along the bad piece. I already marked out where I need to cut. And then your option how to cut it, but you do have to now cut this old piece out. If anything, I would start not cutting enough, because it's easier to take a little extra away than to add more back if you've taken too much away. So I'm going to cut, this line's probably a little on the short side, but I'm going to cut here and then keep test fitting with it until the fits nice. And then we're going to take the new Eastwood MiG 180 and weld in that piece. So here we have it. I've trimmed, I've prepped for welding, I've fit, and now I got all my vice grips holding it in place. This progress update on the door. This evening we went and welded the new door bottom onto the door frame. So I just used the new 220 welder that I purchased. It's an Eastwood MiG 180, and I had it set to the tack setting for trigger control. So all it does is it runs the welder for a half second at a time every time you hold the trigger down, and makes a tack weld. And then I take that, make another and another, and I jumped around different spots on the door so that I wouldn't put too much heat into one spot, trying not to warp the door panel. And I think for my first time using the welder, I still need to get the hang of it a little bit, but it's actually coming out a whole lot better than my old little buzz box would have done. So here's what the welds start as. As I said before, just a series of tacks. And over here, I'm using my angle grinder and dressing them down. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm not trying to get it perfect. I'm trying to get it smooth enough, because I'm going to bring in put a coat of body filler over it. Not Bondo. We're going to use something other than Bondo, but we are going to put a coat of body filler over it, try to make it as smooth as possible before paint. So here we took to smooth out the weld seam, I just spread fiberglass body filler across it. I'm letting it cure, and then I'm going to sand it smooth. We're doing this because fiberglass filler will seal the metal as well as allow it to smooth out. And then once that has been put on the door and I sand it down, I'm going to prime it. Let the primer cure. And then after it's been primed, come back in. And I'm going to use icing, which is a very, very fine body filler, and I'm going to do a skim coat of that over the primer and sand that smooth and then re-prime. And hopefully that will completely hide the weld seam once I actually paint the doors, so that you won't see where the weld seam is on the door. So, working on removing the door skin to the front door on the truck. As you can see, it's held in place by this folded over lip. The inner shell and the outer skin, this is what holds the two together, is this folded over lip. So in order to take it apart, you need to get in there somehow and get that lip to bend back up like that. And here you can really see what I was talking about. Here's the inner structure, and here's the outer skins, the folded over lip. So you need to get that all the way around the door unfolded, and then in this here, in the window frame, see it, two pieces of sheet metal were spot welded together. So you're going to need a spot weld cutter, and you're going to get rid of the spot welds and pop the two panels apart. So here we are this evening on the Superduty front door. I'm going to be working on removing the outer door skin, and in order to do that, I've already got the lip that we discussed previously peeled back, and the last thing I gotta do is I have to take out all of these spot welds along the window opening. So Best way to go about that is I'm going to use a spot weld cutter in my drill, and that'll make quick work of all of these spot welds. So I've already gone through and I've used the center punch with a hammer to make a little indent for the guide pin to ride in on the spot weld cutter. So here we are putting the new door skin onto the door frame. Kind of got it in different sections of crimping the seam over, and you can kind of see. So you end up starting with it like this. You can see the door skin stands up and the door frame just sits in there. And as you go about, start to hammer it over, it starts to look, you start to get it to hammer over, and then once you really get it started, you can put a block underneath it, and you go to town with a hammer and you hammer it over flat and tight. You get your seam, and you gotta do that all the way around the edge of the door, and that's how you hammer down your door seam. And once you get that done, I'll move on to the spot welds in the window frame. So right here you can see what the rosette welds look like on the door after I've welded the door skin to the window frame. And up here you can see some of the welds that I've already dressed down so that the weather stripping will fit on the pinch welds right there properly. The welds start like that, and they end like that.